come full circle from silent movies back to like us mouthing things on TikTok with music over it and then placing words on the screen to get our idea across.
In this TikTok comment section, there's a lot of comments that I do agree with, such as podcasts are just radio shows, but most podcasts are people just giving their opinions on events, less scripted content. The one that really nails it on the head is that TikTok has always been digital vaudeville. And here's some more events that I find quite interesting. There's a lot of info, so a lot of it's just gonna be coming from articles in the wiki page. Vaudeville started at the end of the 19th century, but became popular in the United States in the late 1800s and till the 1930s, where film had overtaken in its popularity. But a lot of early old Hollywood films are derivatives of things that were shown in vaudeville. And coincidentally, much like the rise of popularity of this app, which had occurred in the late 1800s, there was another and one of the most in history, which coincidentally we had the rise of vaudeville. Interesting. And I think most can agree that there's a dislike of the rise of a lot of influencers because they're outside of the star making machine, and many have a following that is an organic build. But in the last 3 years, there's been a shift that most, I don't believe, have been paying attention. First, in late 2020, you had the overturning of the Paramount Accords. Paramount Accords notably is the reason why, or at least one of the reasons why, the Hollywood studio system ended. Hollywood studio system began in the late 1920s and ended in 1948. This also ended the ability for studios to own their own theaters as well as to block book, which had to do with the circulation of their content. And I've been saying for a while that I think that tech companies and like media conglomerates will have their own version of the modernized studio system where they'll own theaters but also have streaming services. One of the reasons why the studio system was so successful is that a lot of the performers, or just any sort of person contracted to the studio, was paid a salary, leading a bulk of profits off of these films to go back to the studio. So if it's true that we're going to have the modernized, or at least see the new modernized version of the studio system, there's a possibility that people will be put under contract and only be paid a salary, as well as the additional implementation of AI will be truly haunting. I don't know how familiar everyone is with J-pop, but in 2011, AKB48 revealed that their 58th member was actually an AI-generated person based off of physical traits of other members. Also in 2016, there was the rise of the digital influencers such as Little Michaela. And if you are familiar with like old Hollywood, one of the more notable stars, Rita Hayworth, was whitewashed to be more palatable to the masses. And I think if there's a hard lean into AI, I think studios will create their own AI celebrities that will be a derivative of more popular A or B list celebrities. Also, there's been more modern references to or an alluding to of the Hays Code, but a modernized version of it as well. But that is a whole other deep dive in itself. And if we do have the rise of the modernized studio system, we could also see the devaluation of certain celebrity brands. For example, this is a TikTok I made in 2021 where it's talking about this film that was for Netflix, where supposedly 1/3 of the overall film's budget went to solely paying for the big name stars to be in the film. I think we could also say that the subscription to a streaming service is essentially the modernized block booking, where block booking as a way to get theaters back during pre-Paramount Accord era, a theater would buy the license, where in this package there was a guarantee of very successful, profitable films or ones that had big name stars attached to it in a bundle pack with a lot of minimal content. And how many of you have ever kept your subscription because you have a loyalty to a couple shows that are on a streamer, but then you're paying money for a bunch of other content that you'll never consume just because it's not of your like cup of tea, essentially. That's why I believe that there's a push for nostalgia or sequels of already moderately successful franchises, as many A-list or top celebrities have their own production companies as a way to keep their brands valuable. How many of you have noticed that there's been some celebrities who joined social media essentially to grasp at the straws of relevance? And I just covered a lot, but I do think there's a lot more to it, and more people should be aware, or at least concerned with what could be happening.